ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to part 2 of Alloy of Law. And this is live from Saturn. I'm Frank Perrine.
Cody Decker.
Duncan Gale.
Yeah, okay. And this is the plot is magical lawmen trying to stop a magical heist and kidnapping.
In the Old West.
In the Old West.
That's right.
Which I thought this would be a sure hit for you, Frank.
I know, me too.
You've broken a couple people's hearts.
I'm sorry.
Sanderson because it's not even Sanderson isn't for you. You like Way of Kings.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, let's not worry about any technical
Nope. We're just going to
issues that may have happened.
And there's been some, I listened to it again and took on a totally different way of looking at it, and I enjoyed it more. So, just have my own little things. But it is what it is.
And Duncan, you actually didn't even get to talk about how you felt about the story.
Yeah, no, I like the story for the most part. I mean, I thought that I thought it had a very sort of archetypal, I guess, pulpy quality to it. Where the characters all felt very sort of okay. This character is fulfilling this role, and so it's all just to say the character development maybe wasn't like super complex, but
yes,
only because this is not the kind of story where you really encounter that sort of thing. So it's okay. It's not a bug. It's a feature, as they say, right?
Yeah, this especially all the characters kind of like they're all like in their 30s and 40s. Mm-hmm. So there isn't a lot of and it's like all the stuff you'll find out about them, which I liked Wayne's background. But it's like, that already happened.
Right.
So you'll hear about it and you'll see sprinkles of it. But yeah, this is largely a short and sweet cowboy magic thing.
Mm-hmm. Love the beginning of it.
I thought
if they would have stuck that through the whole book, that feel, I would have been cool with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The beginning of it, very much had the feel of like
Old West.
Old West, but also like an '80s cop movie with some horrible thing happening at the beginning that influences the rest of the guy's life, and
I think this has a great opening chapter.
Oh hands down.
Introduces all the magic, they imply things that if you go further in, or if you've read his other books, you know what that means.
Yeah.
And then I never made I'm going through all those 80s cops movies where it's no.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to him and he's drinking and he's like, I can't.
Yeah.
It kind of has 2 prologues. Mm-hmm. And I forgot that it actually doesn't even take place in the Wild West, because I was like, Frank will love this. It's a Wild West magic thing.
Yeah.
Oh, right. It's not
not really.
I forgot that it's not really in the Wild. It opens in it.
It opens in it.
And then so it's like this main character, Wax, he's a bounty hunter type deal. Mysterious, got a wife. And then the thing goes wrong. His wife is killed by him by accident, which is sad, and there are magical abilities in play. And that's the other. It either could have been magic or it could have just been bad luck, which is also a magic system. In this luck, you can store luck.
Oh.
Yeah, I forget that you don't care about that.
I don't.
The blank stare you gave me.
Yeah, I'm like, dude. Yeah, and I see how you really like this book, because you're very detailed oriented when it comes to that. Mm-hmm. It's like with me with zombie books. If you have a hole in a zombie book because you're doing something stupid, I'll nail you.
You are a madman with zombie books.
I am, but you, I get it. So for you, that's part of the whole enjoyment of it. For me, it's just like, okay, I get it. I think it's cool, but when you get too much into it, where you're doing it over and over and over again, I don't need the description of it.
Yeah, and I also have limited patience. When it comes to extremely detailed, kind of backstories of the sort of world building and stuff. And it's like if the story works, if the story is interesting, I'm okay with them. Sliding over some of the logistics involved and stuff. It's like, this might not work completely logically, but as long as the story's interesting, that's fine. And the story in this was interesting, but they also, Sanderson also felt the need to,
get it to
always explain exactly how allomancy works in every fight. And again, I think we mentioned, that kind of harkens back to some X-Men stuff as well. Where every time the X-Men use their powers, they explain how their powers work sometimes, and that's.
It's also different, between like reading a comic book thing of a guy being, I'm going to do this versus like here's 3 paragraphs.
Right, exactly.
I know that the author himself isn't really trying to make you feel dumb, right?
Right.
But it gets to be like that. It gets to be like, okay, I get it, dude. I'm already three-quarters through this book. I get it.
This is where it gets interesting because you're much better at visualizing what happens in a book better than I am, which is also why I appreciate more descriptions. Because my movie mind takes a lot more effort.
Right, and I get that. I get that.
So that's
with me. It's so repetitive. In the end, it's ruining it for me.
Mm-hmm. Which is why, check out if you're like that. Check out the graphic audio.
I will.
Which instead of describing the things, you hear like a sound effect.
Instead of going to the cellular level, how the metal actually changes every time he does it.
Well, it alters your investiture, and that. The street names, by the way, have their own origins that you can find out by reading the previous 3 books. Each
cool.
street is named after a character from the book.
Now, and that stuff is cool. I'm always a sucker for that. When you're building your world, like even I do with my art. My art's a whole world. So I dig that stuff. I dig where you could actually buy a piece of my art and look at another piece of art and it's all connected. I love that.
That's great.
But like I said, it's just for me when I'm there could have been so much more to the story than think of all the descriptions if he would have just left them all out. And how much more character building, how much more other things, then I would have been totally vested.
Now, investiture.
For sure.
Okay, that's the term for the magical. So the story, it then cuts to him, Wax. The names are Wax and Wayne as a pun on the moon. The moon doesn't play a role in the story, which is interesting, but
and that's okay.
This character was also like from a wealthy family, and the uncle has passed, and now he's inherited the estate. And they're like, "Come back to the city." He's like, "I can't be a bounty hunter anymore." And then you get like this sort of second prologue where he like does his this is. In the thing, he's like he can control how gravity affects him, and he's like flying using like the recoil from a shotgun, like through the misty clouds.
Because he's making himself lighter.
Yeah, and then he sees like crime happening, and he can't bring himself to pull the trigger, and he sees that the cops just handle it anyway, and he's like, all right, I'm done. I'm not going to be a vigilante anymore.
Yeah.
He's Wax no more. And that is
Wax off.
Wax off.
Damn,
yes. Very good.
God, dang it. Perfect.
His wax has waned.
Yes. So that is like the opening, which I one of the reasons I like this is I think this is a good like foundation if you're like interested in writing a story.
Yeah.
Like the pacing of it, I feel is good. If the stuff doesn't bother you,
and I'm sure there's other like you like that component.
I straight up want to hear how every single nail is affected and why he can't do it this time, and I want to know exactly. Like when I see a fight scene at the end, I love that I'm no longer asked. I don't have any questions. I know that this fight makes complete logistical sense. And that is a preference.
You might not know anything about the characters, but as long as you understand how that works.
Well,
that's right. If you just read like a science textbook, that's the ideal novel for you.
Yeah. There is a character, speaking of waning, named Wayne, who is my favorite character in this series.
Is that the guy with a Scottish accent?
Well, yeah, it's the guy with multiple accents, yeah.
Yeah.
His thing is, and this is something I didn't notice until I like reread it, is, like, this is why it's a classic kind of like archetype story too, because the villain is clearly supposed to be a foil to the main character. Like it's not like, the opponent he's fighting is also a former lawman who turned to crime.
Right.
And it's like, oh, here's all the way he contrasts with Wax. And then right at the end, the villain says, also, I hate wearing hats. And Wayne famously loves hats, and I was like, that is so silly, and I love stuff like that.
I must have glazed over that.
He
part.
just mentions at the
I missed that.
mentions at the end. I'm not a hat guy either. Wayne is Wax's former partner.
By then, I was waiting for something to be metal in the hat, where we'd be explaining again how
Right.
So for book 4 coming out in November.
why he didn't like the hat, why he can manipulate felt.
Odd job, yeah. So Wayne is like, and this is like an 80s action comedy, essentially.
Yes. Yeah.
Because Wayne's like, it's his old partner in a disguise.
Yes.
Yeah,
And Wayne-
and there's that great part where they say, "We're getting too old for this shit."
Oh yeah.
No, actually,
They kind of do, though.
They kind of do.
they do.
Yeah, because he's explaining
in
how
their own way.
he's explaining how he can't do things like he used to. Yes.
Which is also, he makes himself lighter because otherwise, like, his
Right.
age would have, like,
Yeah.
caught up to him by now.
Beverly Hills Cop.
So, Wayne is into disguises, and he has the ability to, like, freeze time in a bubble around him and
Yes.
regenerate. And I think it's the funnest power I've ever seen because it's like this realization of cartoon abilities
Yes.
where people would just see a blur and now he's in a different costume. Now he's in a slightly
Yeah.
different location. And when he fights people, it just looks like a blur, like a Tasmanian devil thing.
Right.
One person on the ground. Sometimes it's him. Sometimes he just gets shot because he doesn't have like
Right.
combat powers. I fell in love with the book when Wayne revealed what his origin was. That's when I was like, I love this. Everything about this. I was in tears. I don't know if you guys even remember that part.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, we totally remember that because we read this as closely as you did. But for everybody else, could you remind us what that
Could you
is?
expand on that? Because I remember crying, but I thought it was
know.
halfway through the book.
Well,
I don't know exactly where this was.
You're probably having difficulty differentiating when
Yes,
when the story
yes.
was pulling at you,
Right.
And you're like
Right.
you're being pulled at every direction,
Right.
Yeah, and that's-
Absolutely, yeah,
You,
yeah.
like much like a steel puller. You're
Yes,
kind of
yes.
you're burning steel over here.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yes, I understand that analogy. Yeah.
I was pushing the nails out of my head at this point. So I don't know if I was crying at that point or but please explain.
All right, so Wayne recruits. He's like, I need your help because I'm not the leader. I'm not the investigator. That's Wax. He's the detective. And they partner up with like this other like, oh, I want to be a detective too, like kind of fangirl.
And she can only go slow, right?
She can freeze time around herself, which
Right.
which I like how they go into that ability. But
Yeah.
she's like, it's useful
It's
if I'm
useless.
like waiting
Yeah,
for like a movie to start.
Yeah.
And and I did write down the names of some of these. Yeah, so that character is Marasi, and she is the cousin of Lady Steris, who is going to be Wax's wife.
Yeah, they've
Yeah.
been. It's like a contractual contract marriage.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, Drew's legal pad is probably the least filled that I've ever seen it for this show.
You get the impression he was trying to write something down.
Go
Just
get
the
milk.
kind of bare minimum.
It's also mixed with his shopping list.
Yeah. Usually very super informative stuff. And this time he's like, and I wrote this down. The character has a name.
I need to remember their names. That's all I need.
It's like paragraphs. That's fine. And Wax is like it's like an arranged marriage deal because he has like a good name. They have money,
Right.
and it's like one of those old timey things.
Yeah.
And his fiance, I actually started liking her character.
Yeah, and I like that part of it. I mean, because it was almost like a medieval kind of stuff where you would have these arranged marriages. I mean, I kind of dug that.
Yeah.
Because you do like I thought at least like, oh well, he's gonna get with the sister because they have
Right.
much more in common.
Right.
But that ends like really early, and he says like, I'm too old for you. And it's just like, and I'm like, I don't think this is healthy, and it just ends there. And
Which is odd, because most of the time when you have arranged marriages like that, it really doesn't matter. You watch Game of Thrones, you're like, what?
well, to his
yeah.
arranged fiance's sister, the one that like is with them, she has like
Right.
like this like crush hero worship for Wax, and you would think like, oh yeah, his fiance is like a mean old lady, but her sister's the one to go for.
Yeah, but in the end, is that those arranged marriages back then had nothing to do with the person.
That's true.
Had to do with everything else, from security to building your allies. It had nothing to do with the person.
Alloys.
Alloys, I like it.
A little touch that I know you guys will like is because she's like showing him the contract, like we will have sex, once a week until a child is sired. You'll be afterwards. You'll be allowed like an affair. Whoever like one, and we'll each be allowed our own affairs. And you find out that like that's what her dad just cheated on her mom.
Right.
Yeah.
So she was like, I know this is gonna happen because her family did the same thing.
Now, what if we got a contract like that in the beginning?
Who boy?
Things might have been different.
Things would have been much better.
Anyway,
Wayne is Marcy. He's like talking to her, and she's like, Wayne's like a wacky guy, disguises accents. And I think it's like, but she's like, so like what, like how did you even meet him? And he says like, oh, Wax like saved me from an execution. She's like, oh, like criminal? He's like, no, law. He's like, oh, you were framed. He's like, no, I shot a man.
Oh, I do remember that.
And that's when and then because she's expecting like a joke, which is what I was.
Because he's always kind of joking that.
Yeah, you're expecting like a jokey answer, and she's like, oh, in self-defense? He's like, no. I was robbing him and I panicked. And when they found me, I was crying in the corner and I didn't even fight back. And that's like stuff like that I really love. And he says like he sends the children money. He got to know them. The guy he robbed is like a big pillar of the community. And he's like, they tell me that they hate me and that they'll never forgive me. And he sends them money every month. And as the books go on, you see it is like it maintains one of the saddest parts. And you see them interact, and it for me it was like one of the saddest scenes because it really is there is no like, oh, you're changed. It is like, I hate you.
Oh yeah.
And you took my dad from me. And spoilers for the second book, she makes him say it out loud. She makes him say in public that he shot a man better than he'll ever be.
Oh wow.
It's actually like very. I mean,
that is kind of crazy.
This is the fun character and stuff like that. I really like, and that's an Alloy of Law.
That is cool, and that is, and that's why that guy hates guns, and he only ever uses swords and knives
they call
stuff.
them dueling canes, which I don't know what that means.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know if that is a sword because
they used to have canes, and the actual blade was a straight blade into the cane.
That is actually a thing.
That's accurate.
I thought I was.
You thought I was going?
I thought you were going to get me on something.
Well, here's the funny thing.
Like, that's true.
I'm telling a family a story last night when we were at dinner, and it was a real story about this homeless guy that I met, right? And they're just waiting. Mm-hmm. They're looking at me waiting for the punchline. Yeah. This guy Jerry, and I gave him some money, and he got all the stuff stolen, and they're just waiting.
I'm gonna be honest.
They're waiting for the punchline.
I'm doing that,
dude.
Right
it was a real story.
I'm still waiting for you to reveal that you didn't tell them that, and you're making this up.
No, I swear it was funny.
So that
part I totally understand because it's weird because he did a mixture of things from the 1800s and the West, and then he's all over the board in some of those aspects. But I thought that part of it was cool. I think the story would be cool. It's almost like a punt movie. It's like, okay, I'm setting up for my next book and my next book, and then once you get past all this crap, it won't bug you, and then you'll kind of get it, and you'll have all these things.
Which this story was a punt. It was supposed to be a punt story to the. It was supposed to be Mistborn and then cut to the 1980s, and he just did this to set this up. And then this guy he can't stop writing, so he made this into a 5-book series now.
Yeah,
but so that's why it is like very like it's the lawman whose wife died and he can't.
Yeah, and it was partly probably my problem too because sometimes I go into a book like that, you're telling me what it is, and I'm going into it thinking of a mixture of Red Dead Revolver, which,
if you want
good, bad, and the ugly, I'm thinking that kind of Western.
Right. In the Discord, which we have, by the way, we have a thing just for recommending books to us. Essentially the fourth person on this podcast. He recommended me this book called Cold as Hell, which is which I'm like, you will like that one, and that is voiced by the guy who is the main character in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Really?
It is.
Wow, that would be cool.
You're gonna like that. But yeah, so if you, by the way, join the Discord, and I'm on there a lot. Duncan and Frank are in there, and Frank shares his art.
I'm gonna be to everybody. I have these little spots where I'm not on because I'm in the gallery and doing different things like that.
He's got like a whole life.
Yeah,
not like us cool guys.
Yeah. I sell my art at a farmer's market on Saturdays and do art walks and stuff like that. So,
which you should do because they can follow that on your Instagram. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Don't you also have a channel where you show like yourself doing the artwork? That's in, videos like that.
I have a YouTube channel now, and I do. It's called MF3, and I draw on there. I don't speed it up. I do just 40-minute things.
Which it is very real. I watched an episode. You give like extra information, and you have a very soothing voice.
Yeah.
So
my son Marco's telling me I should do those sleep videos.
See, that's what.
And then you tap on the mic.
ASMR.
I wanted to say that, but I'm like, that just sounds offensive to tell someone.
It does. It sounds like you're going to tie me up or something.
Yeah.
So you want to do ASMRs?
Yeah.
No, but yeah.
So me and Duncan are Instagram, but I don't post anything. I don't know if Duncan does, but you can message us.
If you comment on a YouTube thing, I might respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which you did, famously.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And I try to respond, but sometimes I can't.
You're really good on the Discord, dude. You're on there all the time.
Yeah, I have no life. So, yeah, no, this is the thing. I'm actually, when people start talking, I feel like, why aren't they talking to me more? And I get like nervous. I don't because I feel like someone will be like, do you have a book? I'm like, you should check this out. You should check this out. And they're like, okay. I'm like, all right, I guess I was too eager.
Let me tell you how this magic works.
Yeah. Literally, I can show you my last post was cataloging all the magic systems I remember.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later, Cody. I just said hi.
Yeah, so-and-so has left the Discord server. I'm like, that's fair.
All of our fans have been scared away.
So yeah, Duncan he'll respond to comments. He's on there with his own thing. You got your own Instagram. You can DM us, talk to us, meet us in person, hang out.
Please do, yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna start maybe combining some of those things and doing some stuff different, and like suggestions and all that stuff is great. Just follow us because it's nothing but up from here. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally today. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, you're right. Oh, is that a dig on the book?
No.
Okay.
It was just a dig in general.
So we're trying to get video. We'll get video soon.
We're going to be good.
We're figuring that out. So the story, which it is a, this was where it was supposed to end. Was when it's like the bandits come in, they kidnap his fiance, and they're like, no one's gonna follow us.
Yeah.
I thought I had the accent. I really thought I was gonna have the.
You got to have that like 49er accent, like
holy Jesus. And if one of you's chasing, dang it,
you're almost there. And I swear, if one of you guys chases, it's all over. I even did a little New Orleans swing at the end.
Yeah, I felt it. I got to know his background a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's also like, yeah, we not only should we stop this anyway because they're kidnapping women for unspecified reasons, which I think. What I've noticed is Sanderson will imply dark things, but he doesn't really go into them that much.
Yeah.
And magic in his settings is usually genetic. So
right.
There's a lot of dark fantasies that will go into it, like The Way of Shadows, if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
They'll go into dark things more.
Yeah, I mean, Sanderson is a Mormon, so I guess he's restrained.
Really?
Yeah. Which
I wonder if that has anything to do with the gold man in the end. The main character. His powers from gold.
Well, the main villain.
The main villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gold tablets.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
That might. Yeah. I don't know if you're doing a joke because it might actually.
No, I thought about that.
Yeah. Gold tablets.
Because gold is
which I have heard from people that it feels distracting how much of his Mormonism is in his books. Mm-hmm. I don't really pick up on all that stuff. I don't really know about Mormonism though. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well. Apparently that's not rare because I was like. Someone said that. I thought they were being a jerk, but apparently, like, a lot of people feel that, like, his religious influence is too much. Mm-hmm. I haven't noticed it.
Well, it's funny because a lot of when you find out about a writer, a lot of it's like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, how can you not? How can you not write a book and you're putting yourself into that book and you find a lot of those things in it?
Well,
From Stephen King to
I also don't think there's anything inherently wrong with putting your religion into it or anything about yourself into it. But
absolutely, it's you. It's you.
Yeah. So, there's that fight scene in the bar. The descriptions of the magic were still too distracting for you. Like when the first the bandits go raiding and they're like, "Give us all your aluminum," and then you see Wax how he and Wayne teaming up as
that was kind of cool. But like I said, it's just it's like every time they did something, it wasn't just
He pushes him.
Yeah, he gets into his time bubble and he does and he activates this and he pulls from his gut and he does this and he does that. And I'm like, okay, we already know, we've already heard how he does it.
I legitimately get what you mean, and I understand why it bugs you now.
Right. Yeah,
at first I'm like, because it could easily be he throws the metal.
That's it. You already know he could do it. You already explained how he can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, this is why I have such limited patience with audiobooks, because if you're just reading the book, you can just kind of skim those paragraphs. It's like okay, let's go on. But if you have to actually listen through it in an audiobook,
that's
it's
true.
probably
Never
really
thought about that.
Really frustrating.
Like the Red Wall, the Red Wall, which is a series of books. I forgot who wrote it.
Excellent. Brian Jakes.
Yeah, right? Excellent books about mice and this whole thing.
Oh yeah, they're great.
No, it's great about mice that overthrow these cats and rats and stuff.
Just woodland creatures.
Yeah,
in general,
really great. But they just go into food descriptions it's just stupid.
Yeah.
It's like 2 chapters. You're just going, oh my gosh. And when you're reading it, you're right. I'm just okay, here we go.
I heard that happen. I heard that happen in Game of Thrones a lot too. Where they'll just describe a succulent banquet they make on the road,
right,
and they talk about the buttery shrimps and the fish.
Oh yeah,
in the stew. Which on one level, I'm like, that would people do eat, but then it's you just see the writer who's probably just hungry.
But in all fairness, I didn't like that about those books. I hated it. Loved the when they got past that part, but it seemed like I don't know if the guy just ate all the time, but they were always talking about freaking food and these long descriptions of it. So. But in the end, I like the book. Like this book, I think if I read more of those books and I started to, maybe it wouldn't bug me as much. Maybe it wouldn't bug me because I already kind of know what's happening. But I think going into it for me, I was just expecting something totally different. And lots of times I have to go back and read a
more fast-paced action, because the story is an action 80s thing.
But also in the Old West.
Yeah, which it does.
The majority of it's not.
They do leave in the second book. They leave.
Yeah,
but I forgot.
You're in the city the whole time.
This is the thing when it's you like a series and you'll love it. In the 7th book,
yeah, it really picks up.
You'll love it then. Oh no, the first 3 are tough. But
it's like recommending a streaming TV show. It's the first 2 or 3 seasons are rough, but after that,
yeah. But what's crazy about this guy is you read what's the one we really love.
Way of Kings.
If you really read Way of Kings, it is nothing like what you're reading.
Okay.
It is so good. It is so good.
It's a much more simple magic system,
yes,
which is
they breathe
in,
yep.
And after that, once they explain to you what the magic is, they don't break it down. You know what they can do.
Yep.
Right.
It's amazing. That book is, I can't even.
The plot is it's investigating where it's we need to hunt down this gang. So it's you can see the story outline.
Yeah.
Right? We need to hunt down this gang. We need to figure out a way. The villain, they show some scenes of him, and he has super regeneration power, which is caused by compounding when you're a twin born, which is when you have ferochemy and allomancy.
I was going to ask about that.
Sorry, I just nodded off for a minute.
I saw that. There is a scene.
You should get a shirt that just says, "I'm a misborn."
I have 4 I have 2 Way of King shirts, and I have 3 Mistborn shirts.
Because you probably pee yourself a little bit if someone said, "Oh my gosh,"
yes,
and knows what it is.
You have no idea. I am just waiting for anyone to recognize them, because I make them. So I'm if someone does, I will just be like, "Yes."
Are you compounding now?
If you were in Sanderson, would you be a compounder? People recognize my Chainsaw Man shirts, and I'm like, that's...
Oh, well, yeah.
Which is getting an anime coming out in October.
But that's like J-Man Saw saying, he starts the engine, the gasoline goes through this tube into the injector, and then...
you know what's funny?
And then do that every time he
chains on his
chainsaw.
I legitimately like that. Seems fine and dandy to me.
Okay.
So you see, like, I as a team, I liked it, too.
And I like that I like the main villain.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool because
There's
he had problems with the fact that he couldn't be killed and he could heal instantly. And yeah, I like that part.
There's a fun scene that I liked where he like just jumps off like a building and his legs shatter and then they just regenerate. So fast that they say like, no, he can feel pain. He just has done it so much that he doesn't care.
Yeah,
and it is like. A really good thing where it's like, oh, how are they going to stop the villain? They do it using an ability that seems useless.
Yeah,
and I love
when that was a
setups
softball
like
though.
Yeah. But like, did you see it coming?
Well, I'm like, okay, you're explaining a power that sucks.
See, for what point? Chekhov's gun.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, okay.
What I liked is because when they introduced that power, I'm thinking like, how is this going to come up?
Well, it's like finding the sniper rifle on the 6th level. When you know the next level, you're going to need a sniper rifle.
Which she is a sniper.
That's pretty much how it was. It's like, okay. And it's going to be needed somewhere.
I think one of my favorite scenes in it was when the butler betrays them.
Yes.
Yeah. And he said left a bomb, which is like, oh, that's archetypal or stereotypical, whatever the word is.
Now, in my movie mind, that was cool.
Yeah. And a little bit before that, they do have the butler go like, I think you should drop this investigation. So they have a very archetypal thing, but you do have the butler have like his thing where he tried to stop it from needing to happen.
Right.
And you have Wayne pop up this time bubble where they they can see the explosion coming at them. And then it's like, what are we going to, it's like, he can regenerate, the rest can't.
Yes.
We need to do something to get out of this.
That was cool. Because I can imagine that. Everything was going slow. I was like, man, that'd be that'd be cool to see.
And and I think they're not even taking that seriously. With a newcomer character, Marcy is like being like, what are you doing? Because you can see it all coming towards them.
It's like Quicksilver in the
mansion. It was like a little bubble, and then it's like, oh well, because Wax can manipulate his weight, they're just gonna cannonball through the building.
Yeah, that was kind of
with Wayne shielding them, and he'll just regenerate from the wounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they have to peel off the charred skin because it won't regenerate if it's not magical healing. There's still like limits to it and stuff.
We follow you.
It's I don't know if you heard me being like, why am I?
He just gets so descriptive.
If you heard like midway through, I'm like, I'm gonna finish this, but I'm kind of stuck here, guys.
No,
you can just give me the old knife hand. Just be like, you can cut it. And you have so the big climax is like Wax or Wayne versus the villain who can regenerate infinitely, and it felt very video gamey to me because they try to trap him in a net.
Yes,
because it is like he is just a normal guy. He can regenerate, but it's just he doesn't have super strength. So you get him in a net, and if you restrain him, it's not impossible. But the villain pulls out dynamite and blows himself up and regenerates because like I'm prepared for that to happen. I'm also immortal, so they defeat him by using Marcy's ability to freeze time and letting him beat them up. They didn't they tried to fight back, but they lost.
Right.
So while the villain is like beating up Wayne, Wax got help, or no, opposite. Well, beating up Wayne got help from the police, who like the visual of it where you just see like this blur of people start forming while like they see like this guy like very slowly punching the other guy.
Right.
In like milliseconds. I like that visual.
That was cool. Mm-hmm. And I was really engaged by, believe it or not, all of it. The magic, the bubbles, I thought it was kind of cool. I just had a problem with it. It just seemed like everybody had a ability, It got kind of blurred in that aspect, but other than that.
Which the lore of it is magic was much more rare, but throughout genetic, like, descendants, it used to be there would be a couple of very powerful magic users, and now there's a lot of like people who have like a useful ability.
Yeah.
Which I like. I don't like it when characters are too special. I think Way of Kings is that nice in between where it's like pretty common, or not pretty common, but there's like a hard number on how many can be, and there's people that are stronger.
Right.
And then there's some people like, oh, I got like this one ability.
Right.
And I'm not even that good at it.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess the sort of focus on all these abilities and stuff, it also makes it feel like at a certain point, okay, am I reading a story or is this just like a description of a video game or something? Like, that's the problem I have sometimes.
Yeah, no, I agree with this book.
And
I agree like in a way that makes me like it more because it feels very video game to me.
So I mean, for you,
it's like you reading the whole description of a video game. And they get very descriptive.
At the end of each book, he includes a glossary explaining what every power is and how they work. Right. And I read it, and I'm so excited. And I love stats. And
you should have seen how he said that. I wish we were on video. That was delivered with this like unbelievable gumption, just right there, out of their heart.
I love it. I love knowing rules. I love seeing the mana meter in my head with this user because I know exactly how much bend alloy they have left in them. That's famously, we all know, the alloy that lets you manipulate time.
Right. Well, it's kind of like, but in the end, I think, not saying that that's not a good thing, but I don't know how many people.
It's a preference.
Yeah, preference. Mm-hmm. Like the Deathland series. Everyone knows that I've read a zillion of those. In the beginning, they would take the first 4 chapters just explaining the characters, right? Because you had to. It's a new book, right? Mm-hmm. Different world or different place in the country, but you had to explain the main guy so in the end. What they started to do was they just started to put it on a sheet right before you even start the book, which I thought, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. But some people might like that, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But what I don't understand is how different some of these books can be. Like the one I like dude, I swear you could think it's a totally different world. Mm-hmm.
Just depending on the mood of the author.
Right. And it could be the same author like we're dealing with here. How we could write one book that is just fascinating and then other books that just aren't. And maybe he's building up to that point. But if I was recommending someone to read him, I'd just say read this book. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I really would. Yeah. But that's just me. You love that stuff.
Yeah. The ending... where like the villains like being like executed by gunshot and it takes like a while for it to work, even though like we removed all the gold in him, which even that line is an implication of another magical ability from a separate universe. I think it's by Trell. No spoilers, but I think it's Trell.
That's extremely meaningful to me.
I agree with you. I think it is from Trell.
Yes.
Expand on that.
Right.
I have my opinion.
All right.
But what is yours?
And I know you'll want to talk about this.
I mean, we all know what Trell is, but for our listeners, please.
So, I mean, there's shards that have powers of fractions of God, and Trell is probably one of them.
Oh, now that's interesting because I know what that is.
Every universe has its... That's what I'm saying. Do know.
Right,
you know what a shard is.
Yes, right when you said that, now I'm intrigued. Oh, now I'm like, okay, that's cool.
And you're shown that like, he has his own flunkies with red glowing eyes. That means more to you than it does to anyone. Because I didn't even know what it meant when I read it. And
we got to have him read that book.
Yeah, we'll do once we get video figured out. We'll do Way of Kings.
Oh, dude, it's such a good book.
It's long, so maybe
that's fine.
Ease into it. You'll have time.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And for the folks at home.
But then again, like you even take that. People have we haven't done a show on it, but if you know anything about Way of Kings, there's parts where you have people that could actually run on the ceiling, right? And switch their gravity to different areas, which is similar to what's happening in this universe, right?
Right, right.
But he doesn't go into like crazy constant descriptions.
In Way of Kings,
it's just fast. He swishes, and then he's on the roof, and then he's action. And
turns
you're like,
the door at the end of the hallway into the floor, and then falls on top of the guy. It doesn't say like fusing the things.
And so it's so much more fluid.
Mm-hmm.
Where it even when they do describe things, it's like it's so fluid that it didn't even bug me.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it didn't even bug me. It was just amazing. Amazing.
I listen to the graphic audio intro like every couple of days. I think it's the perfect intro to a story.
We definitely got to do that.
Yeah, and we will. And Alloy of Law, I love, but it is still very much the Mistborn way of writing, which is like heavy rules, very video gamey.
And if you're into heavy rules in video games, I think it's your kind of book. I really do.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that it's a bad book. I'm just saying it just wasn't
for
me.
There's different camps,
Yeah. I mean, we're all into our own things. I mean, I'm really into Marvel stuffs, and not everybody is. But if you're into this kind of thing, this is a well-made example of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. A well-made example.
A well-made example.
Well made.
Yeah.
Is there any final thoughts you had on that story, Duncan? You didn't like the magic, but did you like the story?
Yeah, I did, and as you mentioned, I thought there were some interesting subversions of tropes in terms of the female characters, where you think something's going to happen with them, but the Lady Steris is not as bad of a character as you think, and he doesn't end up with the girl that you think he's going to end up with, because that's just like too easy of a way to wrap things up. So I thought that was cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He can also talk to God if he puts an earring into his ear. I don't know why, but that is So I really like what they do with that. There's a little scene where he when you pray to God, you put this earring in and said to give you a connection.
Okay, I remember that. I was like,
did I
miss that part?
The stuff with religion. Yeah, I did think was another interesting aspect of it. Yeah,
because they don't really explain. You meet a character who says he's an angel of God at the very end. But when he prays, he says he's like, "Oh, hey God, how are you doing?" And he's like, he feels like a sense of humor. And it's like, oh, is that just in his head, or is that God actually talking back to him? And you find that out later.
Yeah. So the main character, he worships this God that's indifferent to humanity. That's sort of what the religion is, right?
He's praying to a God that's different than his actual religion.
Okay. Huh.
And it's a whole thing on on marriage. To a God that's indifferent.
That's right. There's two religions. There's survivalists.
Take my God, please.
You're gonna love good. Way of Kings. That's gonna be perfect. So there's survivalists who worship a character from the previous trilogy, and then there's this other religion that he's praying to because he was just told this is a real person.
Right.
And that's also someone from a previous trilogy.
Okay.
And he doesn't really put much stock into either, but he's like, I guess I'll do this. And you see, it is this thing of does God do anything? The God's called harmony, and it's why aren't they helping more? And why worship a God that does nothing?
Right.
So if it is about Mormonism, his books are very questioning towards religion.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely.
Yeah.
It's not they're going this is awesome, by the way.
Right.
So
I and like you, I for me, I like the story of it. But I was already kind of offed by it. So what sucks is I just kind of muscled through it, and then I tried to listen to it again, and I felt the same way. I like the idea. I was expecting something totally different, but I think in general, I think it's a good book if you're into that detailed aspect of it. And what kind of makes it strange to me is that we're talking about Way of Kings, which is totally different, right? Mm-hmm. But you enjoy it the same. But yet you're invested in this world where all the rest of the books, being that descriptive, adds to what you like. Mm-hmm. But then you come up with a book that's totally different. Do you like it more because how it's all connected?
Yes.
Okay.
You got it exactly right, because his stories all take place in the same multiverse. There's 16 universes. All those magic systems I know, those still exist, and sometimes they play a part in another story.
Okay, I got you.
So and they all run off of some rules are they always have to follow the same rules, but they do them differently.
So that would make it really, I guess how that would make it really, really cool for you. Mm-hmm.
So,
and I can see that.
In Way of Kings, it's sort of you got it, you're going to see this later. And I'm like, yeah, you can give me more details when you want, when they explain all of it, and I'll read that glossary.
Gotcha.
and it all adds up. I got a comment for us.
Yes.
Okay.
By Kuro NK. Kuro, great manga, by the way. Holy, I just realized this isn't a big channel. I saw Alloy of Law and clicked expecting this to be a 1 million sub podcast channel and a video with 15,000 views.
It is.
Good job. It is, actually. We're going to start gaslighting our audience. Good job, guys. I love the video and like to hear you talk about other Cosmere books.
Oh.
Shit, we're talking about Cosmere. That's the name of the multiverse of the Sanderson series.
Okay.
I might have to work the gallery that weekend. Hey, you know what? For our fans, I'll muscle through anything.
No, we'll do Way of Kings next.
Too.
Way of Kings. Oh my gosh, dude. We got to do a 2-parter on that.
That's a massive conversation.
That is just
I'm not even
insane.
kidding. Duncan, get the book now because it is
Way of Kings,
it is a
okay.
massive book and you're going to
right.
need your time.
All right.
I also have it on
Yeah.
audio and graphic audio.
So good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't listen to the graphic audio on that.
Just check out clips because people just post like the fight scenes.
Gotcha.
And that is fantastic.
Because I think we've heard both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're different too because graphic audio cuts out some stuff. So it is like
And for that one, I'm going to do a lot of sketches and stuff we could put up.
Oh, cool.
Because I mean, the visual for their armor and stuff is just
perfect
Just
book.
insane.
That's not the one you read, Duncan.
Right.
How does it feel hearing us just talk about a different book?
I know.
I mean, isn't that every episode we do?
Yeah, pretty much.
We're talking about this thing as a way to talk about this other thing.
But it always comes back. It always comes back.
That's right.
All right.
That's right.
So just reviews. I love this book. I think it's fantastic. If you like these magic systems
Yes.
and you love a world that like fits,
Yes.
and a bit of a cheesy kind of action story.
Yes.
And if you like that, I think you'll love this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll always know if there's a part 2, it's because Cody didn't really like the way we talked about it the first time.
That's right.
That's why. Yeah, like what just happened right now. Yeah. I'm like, oh, sorry, there was
We're having another one.
We'll have to talk about it again.
No.
Frank, go ahead and read it again. Do whatever you want. Read it again. Maybe you didn't get it the first time.
Yeah. So tune in next week for
Yeah.
next
Yeah, for part 3.
installment
I
of
saw
Alloy
yeah.
of Law.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw
Not
it.
the second book.
Yes.
The
No.
second installment.
Same book.
Yeah, and you can see it on Viewmaster. That's where I'm going to see it on next. No, but honestly, just like you said, I think for people that really like the detailed aspect of it, I could really see and connecting the whole worlds. Yes, it's a phenomenal book if you're into that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Final thoughts and an outro, Duncan.
Okay. So the Alloy of Law is when two things come together, but we're coming apart right now in the ending. See you later, metallurgists.
Oh, you got it.